communication.
There's an overall anxiety that we have to keep on top of everything at all times, which we don't.
I'm Manoush Samarodi, the host of Note to Self. Join our new project, Info Magical. Figure out how to filter the junk and find out what really matters to you. We're making information overload disappear with a week of challenges starting Monday. Sign up now at wnyc.org/infomagical.
WNYC support comes from the Montefiore Einstein Center for Heart and Vascular Care, whose Heart and Vascular Center has been working to create state-of-the-art innovations in cardiac diagnosis and treatment. More information at montefiore.org.
You're listening to The Takeaway on 93.9 FM and WNYC.org. Stay tuned for the latest news on all things considered and WNYC. This is The Takeaway. I'm John Hockenberry. With thoughts on the college admissions process fresh in our minds, we return to Lake Area Technical Institute in Watertown, South Dakota, to see how they are reshaping their programs to identify and meet real employment needs in the community. Lake Area Technical Institute is one of the featured schools in our Community College Challenge series. Today, we're taking an in-depth look at Think Big, one of Lake Area Tech's industry programs. The goal is to prepare students for high-skilled, paying jobs in South Dakota.
Probably one of the biggest programs is our Caterpillar program. We're one of 17 facilities in the world and one of 11 in the nation that offer the Caterpillar Technician Training Program.
And green wires, one of them you should have 2.4 volts on, the other one you should have 2.6. Use B for your ground, and that'll verify your ground is good.
My name is Alec Lee. I'm 19 years old, and I'm studying the Butler Think Big program at Lake Area Tech. I decided to come here because it's close to home. Also, it's a really, really good school. It's one of the top tech schools in the nation.
My name is Corey Muschitz. I am the Think Big instructor for Butler Machinery here at Lake Area Tech. My job is to teach everything on the machine, whether it be engine, hydraulics, electrical, air conditioning, powertrains, welding. If they make it through the Think Big program, they are guaranteed a job with Butler Machinery Company.
What I'm doing here is I'm going into this engine, into the computer that's connected to it, and I have it hooked up to my laptop here, and I'm going in and making sure all the parameters are correct. I am doing my internship at Aberdeen at Butler Machinery. Here at the school, Corey, he's very, very good with everything. He'll make sure everybody in the whole room understands what's going on, what needs to happen, and how to do it correctly and safely. So
we work very closely with the employers. Usually it's on a day-to-day contact with them. The instructors in the Think Big program came from industry. Lake Area has hired us. They are also helping compensate our wage. Butler is helping compensate the wage. It's a very joint venture. So we just got this engine from Caterpillar donated to us, and now we're wiring it up to make it communicate to our diagnostic program. So we're having communication troubles right now, so we're troubleshooting what's not talking to what.
the biggest challenge for staying and attending college would probably be it's expensive. Say with like our tools that we had to buy, you gotta buy a toolbox and it depends on what brand you go, but not everyone can just pay with for almost $10,000 worth of tools right out of their pocket. So they go through the school and then you get kind of like a loan and you make payments through that. So that really does help out a lot, and they understand that that's a pretty hefty price to pay right away, right out of your pocket. We really can't go without the tools. It's kind of how we make our living. Right here is telling me that the engine speed is about 600 RPM. That's just the normal idle speed. It's telling us we got good engine oil pressure, 41 PSI, that's pretty good. And fuel position is 1.9, that's good. And if we speed up the engine, it'll speed up and tell us what it's running at. My hopes for the future would be to create a successful career of what I've learned here at Lake Area Tech and also through Butler Machinery. That's my goal.
Working with the students, you can truly see they care. You can see when they come in here, they're scared. There may be some maturity issues to deal with, but by the time they graduate, they're like almost like your little brother. It's just a wonderful thing to watch them grow up, mature, become productive members of society.
That's Think Big instructor Corey Mushitz and student Alec Lee. How do schools in your community stack up? We've mapped over 1,000 community colleges across the country. Head over to thetakeaway.org/community college to interact with our data. A lot of male voices talking about getting jobs in South Dakota. Some new rules from the Obama administration, though, aim at closing the gender wage gap, a presidential priority since President Obama took office in 2009 and signed his first piece of legislation, the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act.
The goal is to help businesses that are trying to do the right thing, like the ones here today, to get a clear picture of how they can ensure their employees are being treated equally. A better picture of the data will also help us do a better job enforcing existing equal pay laws.
President at the White House today, the executive order requires companies with 100 employees or more to report salary information by gender, race, and ethnicity to the federal government. 63 million Americans will be covered by this new rule. President's executive order also comes as the Pentagon is shaking up its family leave policy. Now all female troops will get 12 weeks of maternity leave, a move that affects up to 200,000 women. Joining us, Todd Zwillich, Takeaway Washington correspondent. What impact on the overall labor force are these rules likely to have, Todd?
Well, you're talking about 63 million workers, or maybe a little bit more, up to 65 million workers who would be covered under the new order. What it does really so far, though, is not so much for equal pay itself. It really arms the government, John, with more data to make the case. The federal government already requires federal contractors, defense contractors, whoever, somebody gets a contract with the federal government, they have to report pay data back to the government by age, sex, and race, how much people get paid in those different groups. For the comparison, private companies, if they don't have federal contracts, don't really have to do that right now, and that's what the new rule does. It says to them, they already report our workers are 74%, over the age of 30, whatever, age, sex, and race. Now they have to add pay to the mix, so the Labor Department has the data. They say this will improve transparency. It'll sort of put it all out there for the public to see and ultimately improve the administration's argument about the need for fair pay.
What are the thresholds here under which people can actually sue? Is it the egregiousness of the disparity? Is there some intent that has to be proven here? What range of evidence will allow employers to try to get redress, or employees to try to get redress?
That's a separate issue under the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act that you mentioned, which is separate from what's going on today. That was a right of action that was restored for women to sue if they can show pay discrimination for similar jobs, or they can show intent to deprive them of pay.
Right. But does this data help them make those cases?
Well, it would certainly have a paper trail for a company if they reported back to the government. I'm not a lawyer, but I have to think that would be discoverable, of course.
And what about the maternity leave? This works very positively for some members of the military, but for others, maybe not so much.
Yeah, separate issue over at the Pentagon. And John, this is the culmination of a problem that planners at the Pentagon have been seeing for years. The fact that a Pentagon salary for somebody who wants to be in the military for a career, that an average family of 4 who's going to have a military career just can't make it on what soldiers get paid. The result of that, millennials, young people, aren't going to choose military careers, even if they come into service for 3 or 5 years for a normal enlistment. So this is part of a whole series of new policies that Ash Carter, the Secretary of Defense, has been trying to implement over at the Pentagon. It now says that women across the services get 3 months of paid maternity leave regardless of the service. Now, if you're in the Army or the Coast Guard or the Air Force, this is a big increase. It's actually an increase in the policies they had before, and of course the Army is the biggest service. In the Navy and Marines, they had 18 weeks before, so they're getting knocked down to 3 months. So it's a little little bit of a deficit in those services, but the Secretary of Defense has said that he thinks it's important for all of the services to have a common standard. At the same time, men across the services now get 14 days paid paternity leave instead of 10, and it's all an effort in that much broader problem of retention and attraction for young people to choose a career in the military. They've also made changes a couple of months back to the pension program, John, where people can start accruing matching pension funds in the military salary. Before, they had to wait 20 years for the careerists.
Is this a bipartisan issue? Is this one of these secret things where there's a lot of agreement, or not so much?
I think on the maternity leave issue, there's probably plenty of agreement. There wasn't a whole lot of agreement on the other issues you remember, which is opening combat roles to women. That's still controversial.
Todd Zwillig, Takeaway Washington correspondent. Thanks so much, Todd.
You got it, John.
On the next New Yorker Radio Hour, the creator of the musical Hamilton says dirty politics is as old as the Republic.
Jefferson called John Adams a hermaphrodite. In the election of 1800, John Adams countered by saying, Jefferson died. You should vote for me. Counting on word traveling slow because it's 1800.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, next time on the New Yorker Radio Hour. Tomorrow morning at 10 on 93.9 FM.
Stories of real-life heroes are on our minds today. Who are the heroes in your life? Eugene, Oregon. Shannon Gold, the physical therapist that saved my life and gave me the education to build a new life.
Hi, my name's Bob, calling from Needham, Mass. My hero is Lynn Bradley. 31 years ago, she started a program of bringing an acting troupe of recovering addicts and alcoholics into schools to put on plays that give a message of hope and educate kids about the dangers of substance abuse. They also address issues around substance abuse in the family and how people can get help for those issues as well.
Chicago, Illinois. Robert Smith in 1953 at Camp Henry Horner, one of the few racially integrated camps then in Baraboo, Wisconsin. Robert was a 9 or a 10-year-old African-American boy and the best athlete in my cabin, mainly white kids, all this from Chicago's west side. Somehow, I became the target of white bullies. One afternoon, the bully boys had me floored, one astride my chest while the other sat on my head and punched me. Smith threatened he would beat them both up if they didn't get off of me. They kept pounding me, and after another warning, Smith jumped them from the high bunk and literally banged their heads together. I never forgot Robert, and it was probably no coincidence that 10 years later I was eager to join CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality, led demonstrations to integrate Chicago's public schools, and have stayed involved in civil, human, and labor rights struggles all of my life. Thanks to Robert Smith.
Jennifer Trotter, and I'm from Green, Oregon. My hero is my best friend, Ginger Johnson. She comes from childhood abuse and teenage pregnancy to get her college education, start a small business, run our small town fair board, and still found it within her to take on 2 foster teens. This woman can do anything.
Dallas, Texas says, my hero is my daughter, Sarah. She decided that she was supposed to be a boy and shared that with me rather than hiding. Very proud. Some great hero stories from you, and now a look at a real-life rescue hero story that was nearly lost to the world except in the whispered modesty of some folks from more than a half-century ago.
Obviously, I didn't know my dad at that time, and I didn't know anything about the rescue until I was in my teens.
That's Patty Weber Hamilton speaking of her dad, Bernie Weber, responsible for one of the greatest rescues at sea of all time. Patty says it was a story hidden behind the mystery of an old-fashioned, unsightly clock on the mantel.
I heard that he had helped some people get off of a boat when I asked about this really ugly clock that we had hanging in our living room. And it was off of the Pendleton. Years after the rescue, a man handed my dad a paper bag, and in it was this clock from Pendleton. And then in, I believe it was 1984, my dad wrote a book, Chatham the Lifeboatman. And I thumbed through it and was like, oh wow, this is interesting. And the big celebration that the Coast Guard did for my dad was the 50th anniversary, and I sat there going, holy cow, this is amazing what they did.
Yeah, can you imagine? Here's the Coast Guard's greatest hero, and he hadn't even told his daughter what he did.
Bernie Weber answered the rescue call off the coast of Cape Cod, Massachusetts back on February 18, 1952. From one of the worst storms nature has ever delivered. A storm with the power to rip apart two stricken oil tanker ships.
I remember Bernie telling me he was scared as all heck, even hoping that maybe they'd order him to turn back. But when they said proceed as directed, then he knew he had a job to do. And he said, I wasn't even focused on the oil tanker. I was focused on the first step, which is get over this shallow area where the big booming waves come in and break.
That's Michael Togas telling the story of the U.S. Coast Guardsman Bernie Weber, who led his small crew on a 36-foot lifeboat to rescue the sailors stranded on the sinking SS Pendleton, which had split in two. Togas captured the true life story in his 2009 book, The Finest Hours, that's now a blockbuster movie of the same name. Bernie Weber passed away in 2009. The Finest Hours is a stunning account of an unlikely rescue that happened, it seemed, in an eye blink.
I think it all happened so fast, and everybody jumped off of that tanker and got into that little boat, that it was just one of those things where it all happens, and then it's like, oh no, now what? And we just got to turn around, and my dad made the decision to turn off the radio and to head to shore, because he wasn't going to take them any farther out to sea. They wanted him to proceed to the Pollock.
Yeah, he was getting so much advice over the radio. I said, well, what'd you do next? He said, turn it off. He's making me nervous.
It was Weber's swift and resolute decision-making that brought 32 crewmen from the Pendleton safely to shore. But a hero's welcome wasn't what Bernie Weber was prepared for.
He did say, when we were researching The Finest Hours, that being a hero can be a terrible burden. I had to give talks in front of rotaries. I would be transferred from station to station. There'd be some jealousy. And he said sometimes rightly so. Other people have done amazing rescues too, but I got all the attention. Bernie's largely regarded as the Coast Guard's greatest hero.
A designation Bernie never asked for and never much talked about. But Bernie did tell Michael he was pleased with the account that was written. His daughter Patty is proud to see the story told again on the big screen, and she feels there's a piece of Bernie in her too.
I definitely do. I've always found there's nothing I can't do. You know, there are hurdles. Sometimes things are difficult, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Patty Weber Hamilton, the daughter of Bernie Weber. Michael Togas is the co-author of The Finest Hours, Disney's The Finest Hours, starring Chris Pine as Bernie Weber, is out today. Although Bernie once told Patty, if there ever is a movie made, have Don Knotts play me. Don Knotts, remember, played Barney Fife on the Andy Griffith Show. Not exactly a romantic lead. Rafer Guzman, you saw the film Finest Hours since it's movie Friday here. What'd you think?
You know, Chris Pine is certainly no Don Knotts. We know him as Captain Kirk, right, from Star Trek. I will say, he's actually really good in the role as this very humble, unassuming Coast Guard guy. You might not expect that from Chris Pine. He's great in the role. I do wish this film had been a little bit less of a Disney film. I think it really sort of overblows the significance of this rescue, which is indeed a heroic feat, but I feel like the movie keeps wanting to trick you into thinking it's a World War II film and that what you're seeing is Normandy, when I feel like it should have just let the feat speak for itself. Do you know what I'm saying? So even though I like Chris Pine a lot, I'm not sure I could give it a wholehearted recommendation.
Great story, overblown, sort of Disney morality, and it doesn't quite hang together.
A little too nostalgic and sort of a yearning for a nobler time and place in the past, I would say.
Rafer Guzman, film critic for Newsday. When we come back, we'll take a look at some of the other very different movies this weekend. Rafer, stay with us.
Support for The Takeaway comes from Lumosity, offering a 10-minute fit test to challenge memory, attention, and problem solving, with brain games to calculate baseline scores and build a brain training program. Performance can be compared with global averages. Learn more at Lumosity.com.
WNYC received support from Eclipsed, a new Broadway play. Lupita Nyong'o of 12 Years a Slave stars in this story about 5 resilient Liberian women. Limited engagement. Previews begin February 23rd. Tickets at eclipsedbroadway.com.
listening to The Takeaway on 93.9 FM and WNYC.org. All Things Considered is coming up next with news and analysis from NPR and WNYC.
Ferris Bueller, you're my hero.
This is my boomstick!
Because he's the hero Gotham deserves.
Who are you?
A friend.
I will look for you. I will find you.
Rafe Guzman, every Friday you're my hero.
Thanks,
Film
John.
critic for Newsday. Welcome back. Let's take a look at the very different movies from, Finest Hours that we were just talking about. Kung Fu Panda. Now, this is a franchise that has done surprisingly well. Give me your assessment of the franchise, and then what's your assessment of Kung Fu Panda 3, and we've got a clip.
I was very surprised that this film did so well. I mean, it really didn't have much promise to me. I mean, it seemed, very overstuffed. You've got a lot of these characters like Mantis and Crane that that are sort of not that interesting in the first place. Jack Black, I think, I like Jack Black as the Kung Fu Panda himself, but some potential for irritation there, I think. But the movies have consistently, I think, delivered. They are really smartly written. They've got a heart. The animation is always really lovely to look at, and they've just been winners across the board. And it makes me wonder why other people don't try to put a little more effort and care into the children's movies that they make.
Well, here's the ensemble of Kate Hudson as Mei Mei, Jack Black as Po, and David Cross as Crane in Kung Fu Panda 3.
I am Mei Mei. Wow, she's amazing. She's so beautiful. That's sweet, Po. But please try to save all other compliments until after the performance.
Has it started yet?
Look away! Look away! No, you can't, can you?
Dad, why does she keep staring at me like that?
It seems like this genre has matured in the sense, not just Kung Fu Panda, but some others as well, where you can do a kid story without having to throw in some pop culture reference for adults every 3 minutes and then some scatological joke every 5 minutes. It seems like they're getting away from the formula and just doing great story.
Yeah, I mean, the other one that I would count like that is How to Train Your Dragon, which I've loved both of those as well. And this is very much like that. In this episode, Po has gone to his Panda Village. His father, played by Bryan Cranston, has come to reclaim him. They go to a Panda Village. He meets others of his kind. There's a villain named Kai, who's kind of a yak-like creature, played by J.K. Simmons, also a great actor, great voice. And these two stories dovetail. And again, there's a little too much going on, a little too much plot, but I think there are a lot of good themes in this movie. Identity, family, friendship, maybe a little bit too many themes, but it's nice to see a movie that wants to actually deliver something to you and not just kind of amuse the heck out of you for 90 minutes because they think you're a 5-year-old and they know that you'll watch anything.
And you might end up, saving an endangered species, right?
That's exactly right, and all of China.
Since when did you ever do that when you go to the movie? Number 2 here is Son of Saul. Tell me about this.
Very different film. This is a Holocaust film from Hungary about a man named Saul. He is one of the Sonderkommando, which were the Jewish prisoners in the camps that were made to usher their brethren into the showers, clean up, dispose of the bodies, do it again. And he sees his son die, and now he has a purpose. He wants to give this body a proper Jewish burial. It's an amazing film in terms of the filmmaking. Laszlo Nemes, it's his first film. You'd never know it. He films like a master. I'm a little unclear as to what this movie is trying to tell me in terms of what that dead boy represents, sort of the ghosts of the past, memories of the Holocaust. I'm not quite certain what the film is trying to say. I've been trying to get people I know to see the film. Holocaust movies are always a bit of a tough sell, but I feel like I'd like other people to weigh in on that.
Well, we've got a clip. So in translation, that's of course in Hungarian there, but
Hungarian, German,
right.
I mean Yiddish. It's a real French. It's a real babble, a real maelstrom of languages in this film, which is one of the things that I think really contributes to the intensity, the chaos, this kind of, and also this chaos of the camps that has been condensed into this incredibly chillingly efficient process. It's really, again, I keep using the word intense, but it really, I mean, the film really grabs you by the throat, that's for sure.
And without the visuals here, you do get a sense that this is a process. They are doing a job that is utterly heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Again, you know, you never imagine that you haven't heard a Holocaust story, but this is one that really jumps out. And it's in the Oscar.
It is. It was the first Hungarian film ever to win the Foreign Language Golden Globe, and I think it seems to be at this point a real front runner for the Foreign Language Oscar as well.
So, Son of Saul and Kung Fu Panda 3 are those two offerings. Also, you know, we talked earlier about The Finest Hours. We're going to do a little script sort of pitch game with you, all right?
Okay, you're going to pitch me a script?
We've asked listeners for their hero stories, their real-life hero stories. It's thinking along the lines of The Finest Hours. And here's a couple, and I want you to evaluate them.
This is Joey from Denton, Texas. Not only for his service, but what he's had to overcome in combat once medically retired from our armed services. My brother Chris, who served during the last two wars with the Special Forces 3rd Group, and I truly say without hyperbole that some of what he did will be in history books. The boy who faces now is with PTSD, CTE, and myriad other medical problems along with broken vertebrae and seizures. This is at least a war that we as his family can help with. But not prayers alone would be too much for most, but every day he waits dedicated to bettering his son and daughter's life with an outlook on the world that is inclusive and positive. We're all in this together. My brother, my hero.
You know, American Sniper was about a dad who couldn't function post-war. This is about a dad who can.
Sure.
It seems like an interesting possibility for a story.
You could have a twist there. I do think that the idea of the PTSD shell-shocked soldier has in some ways been done to death by Hollywood.
But it's always they can't make it. This
exactly.
is them making it. This is the interesting twist.
My nephew Alex is a hero. The lad got himself into Harvard on a scholastic scholarship. Then for Christmas, his Kickstarter campaign raised enough to purchase homeless kits comprised of waterproof socks and sleeping bags for the unfortunate souls on Boston streets. I've seen him grow as an infant into a man. If his father were alive today, why, he'd be bragging nonstop. Yeah, Alex, my young nephew, is a hero for those who really need one. The term is tossed around too often these days and should really be reserved for the precious few who make a real difference.
Our listener Randy from Yankton, Oregon. Seems like that's a story that's been told, but it's a great one. Maybe
Pursuit of Happiness, maybe?
Yeah, we should work for Alex.
We should exactly. Well, we should start a Kickstarter campaign to make a movie about his Kickstarter campaign.
That's great. Rafer Guzman, film critic for Newsday. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
And here's something to take with you today. Thinking along the lines of Kung Fu Panda 3, the movie is enticing you to join the cuddly, awesome Zen world of Jack Black's Po Panda, perhaps? You'd have to put your head kicks and martial flips to rest. This job, it's a real job, taking care of baby pandas in Chengdu province in China. A professional panda hugger, it's called here at an official job description. Your work has only one mission, says the website, at the Giant Panda Protection Research Center, spending 365 days with the pandas and sharing their joys and sorrows. You need perseverance for this job. $32,000 per year, salary deposited in your bank back in the States. Panda hugger, panda whisperer. You better develop a taste for bamboo. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great weekend. I'm John Hockenberry. This is The Takeaway.
Support for The Takeaway comes from the Henry Luce Foundation for increased understanding of East and Southeast Asia. The Takeaway's resilience reporting is supported by the Rockefeller Foundation. For more, go to rockfound.org.
WNYC supports the arts. Join us in supporting local organizations, including the Chamber Orchestra of New York, one of the first fully auditioned young professional orchestras in the city, presenting works of the 20th and 21st centuries that include film scores and ancient music, and Succeed Together, providing qualifying Montclair area students with free after-school and summer enrichment programs in tutoring, creative writing, coding, art, and more. For more details about the Support the Arts program, visit wnyc.org/star. WNYC is supported by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, working to make strides in cancer research, treatment, and education. More science, less fear. More at mskcc.org/morescience.
Stay tuned for All Things Considered coming up next here on WNYC. Currently 40 degrees, cloudy skies, a bit breezy right now. Winds are gusting up to 21 miles per hour. The sunset tonight is at 5:08. You can expect partly cloudy skies for this evening. There is a slight chance of snow showers. We'll have clearing, though, after midnight. It'll be breezy tonight with lows in the mid-20s. A chilly night coming up. Tomorrow, Saturday, partly sunny. Highs will be in the upper 30s, and then a little warmer on Sunday. It'll be partly sunny with highs expected in the upper 40s. Right now, it is 40 degrees in Central Park.